You're listening to Systemic Error Podcast. The failure was designed.
Hostile audit takes aim at Trump's inner circle and his billions. Report, based on an article by Daniel Hampton. Trump's wealth is not a side story, it is the story. The money trail. Democrats are preparing subpoenas, and Trump's own 2025 financial disclosure gives them a map. More than $2.2 billion in income last year, with crypto becoming his largest source of cash, including $635 million tied to the Trump meme coin. He also reported more than $80 million from settlements with major media and tech companies. The White House says there is no conflict. Trump says it is all happening inside a blind account. That explanation is not an answer, it is cover. Who holds power? The institutional power here is not mysterious. Trump sits in the presidency. He has the executive branch, the bully pulpit, federal enforcement, and the ability to reward allies while punishing enemies. That is the fact pattern that matters. When the occupant of the White House is also extracting billions from ventures tied to his name, his image, and his political office, the office is no longer separate from the business model. It becomes the asset. The decision was made long ago. This is not some accidental ethical blur created by modern complexity. The decision was to keep the machinery of self-enrichment running while pretending the presidency remained untangled from it. Trump's own team built that fiction. Now his defenders recycle it as if repeating the phrase "best interests of the American public" makes the conflict disappear. It does not. It just confirms how little the administration thinks the public deserves honesty. Ty Cobb's warning that the setup may violate the Emoluments Clause and represent extraordinary corruption is not the point by itself. The point is that a former Trump lawyer can see the constitutional problem plainly while the White House gaslights everyone else into accepting the obvious as ordinary. The real function of the protection program. Mike Johnson's comment to donors was the most honest thing in the story because it dropped the euphemism. When he tells them a Democratic House would put half of you under investigation and that he runs the protection program, he is not describing governance. He is describing political insulation for a donor class that expects access to immunity. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was right to call that what it is, a protection racket. Johnson's role is not to defend principle or process. It is to warn patrons that the House majority may stop shielding them from scrutiny. That is not a minor rhetorical clash. It is the operating logic of a party that treats investigation as a threat only when it reaches upward. Misdirection is governance. The White House spokesperson's line that Trump only acts in the best interests of the American public is not a defense. It is a programmed refusal to engage with evidence. The strategy is familiar. Convert corruption into abstraction. Convert material gain into the stock market. Convert our president's private fortune into generalized prosperity, and hope the public mistakes scale for legitimacy. That is how power protects itself, not just through denial, but through framing. The story is not that Trump has money. The story is that his presidency is generating money through channels that cannot be ethically separated from the office itself, while allies pretend the issue is merely perception. The pattern. This is what authoritarian adjacent politics looks like in practice. Use state power to enrich the leader, use party infrastructure to protect the leader's circle, and use public relations to make the whole arrangement sound like normal partisan conflict. The corruption is not incidental to the politics. It is part of the method. Democrats should treat this as more than a subpoena fight. It is a test of whether the governing coalition can name corruption as structure rather than scandal. Trump's presidency is not just breaking norms, it is monetizing them. That is the system at work, and the system is the problem. You've been listening to Systemic Error. Thanks to Raw Story for today's article. With the automated voice of Clara, thanks for listening.